Attention seniors who travel by air. Starting February 1, 2026, there are major new TSA rules taking effect at every airport in America, and if you don't know about them before you arrive at security, you could face a $45 fee, long delays, confiscated items, and enormous stress that ruins your entire trip. The Transportation Security Administration will begin charging passengers $45 if they show up at airport checkpoints without an acceptable form of identification such as a passport or real ID, and this fee is non-refundable whether you successfully fly or not. What makes these changes so urgent is that currently more than 94% of passengers already use their real ID or other acceptable forms of identification, which means the remaining 6% of travelers who show up without proper ID will face serious consequences starting in just weeks. But the real ID requirement is only one of 7 major airport rule changes for 2026 that will specifically impact how seniors navigate airport security, what you can bring on planes, and how much time you need to allow for screening. Here's what's really concerning. Gate agents are now checking size and weight much more closely on carry-on bags, airlines are weighing carry-ons and not just measuring them, and smart luggage batteries must be removable by hand or your expensive suitcase will be confiscated at the airport. There has already been a case where a traveler had to leave behind an expensive smart suitcase at the airport because the battery needed a screwdriver to come out, and TSA officers would not make an exception. I'm aviation security expert Patricia Stevens, and today I'm going to explain exactly what these 2026 airport changes mean for senior travelers, which new rules will cause the most problems, and the specific steps you must take before your next trip to avoid fees, delays, and confiscated belongings. So stay with me until the end because I'll also reveal the One TSA program that's specifically designed to help seniors 75 and older get through security faster and with less stress, and it's completely free. And if you're watching right now, please hit like so YouTube shows this to other seniors who need this airport information, and comment below, have you experienced confusion or stress at airport security lately? I want to hear about your travel experiences. Why these airport changes could ruin your travel plans. The 2026 airport rule changes aren't just minor inconveniences, they represent serious obstacles that could prevent you from flying, cost you hundreds of dollars in fees and confiscated items, or create dangerous stress during what should be enjoyable travel. With air travel already stressful enough between long lines, gate changes, and figuring out which bag actually counts as a carry-on, these new regulations add layers of complexity that disproportionately affect senior travelers. Here's what's really at stake for your ability to travel. If you show up at the airport without a real ID or acceptable identification on February 1st or after, you'll face a non-refundable $45 fee and an identity verification process that takes between 10 and 15 minutes but could take 30 minutes or longer. This process is called TSA Confirm.ID and involves sharing personal information, answering security questions, and having your identity double-checked in multiple systems. Miss your flight due to this delay, and you're paying for new tickets plus the $45 fee that didn't even get you through security on time. But there's an even bigger problem for seniors who don't understand the new enforcement approach. If the TSA is unable to identify a passenger, that individual will not be able to fly in order to keep the system safe. This means if you can't remember security answers, don't have your documents in order, or struggle with the technology requirements, you could be denied boarding entirely, no refund, no alternative, just a wasted trip to the airport. The financial stakes extend beyond fees. Airports in the United States are shifting to a stricter model with serious enforcement of carry-on size rules, weight limits, battery checks, and ID control. If your carry-on doesn't fit the sizing device at the gate, you'll likely pay a gate check fee which is often higher than a regular checked bag fee. A senior who packed expecting reasonable enforcement could face $50 to $100 in unexpected bag fees plus the stress of having possessions taken away at boarding. There's also a significant health and safety concern. Many travelers describe the new setup as confusing and stressful, with the simple airport routine they knew turning into a system with strict rules that change frequently. For seniors with medical conditions, cognitive challenges, or mobility issues, this increased stress can trigger health problems, anxiety attacks, or dangerous confusion that puts your well-being at risk. The goal isn't to discourage travel, but to help you understand that showing up unprepared for the new 2026 airport rules could transform your trip from a pleasant experience into a nightmare. The stakes are too high to learn about these changes after you've already arrived at security. Why these new rules impact seniors more than other travelers. From the TSA's perspective, these 2026 changes are designed to improve security and efficiency, but the reality is that seniors face unique challenges adapting to the new requirements that younger, more frequent travelers don't experience. Understanding why seniors are disproportionately affected helps explain why you need specific strategies for navigating the new airport environment. First, there's the Real ID preparation barrier. Many seniors still have driver's licenses issued before the Real ID standards took effect, and getting a Real ID requires a trip to the DMV with multiple documents including proof of identity, proof of address, and sometimes proof of social security depending on your state. For seniors with mobility issues or those who no longer drive regularly, making this DMV trip represents a significant burden that younger people handle more easily. Second, there's the technology adaptation challenge. The new TSA confirmed that ID system requires navigating online forms, receiving and presenting email confirmations, and answering security questions that may reference digital accounts or recent transactions seniors don't track as carefully. Passengers 75 and older can receive expedited screening through TSA's risk-based security measures, but accessing these accommodations requires knowing about programs like TSA Cares and requesting help in advance. Third, there's the physical demands of stricter enforcement. With gate agents now checking carry-on size and weight much more closely, seniors must be able to lift bags onto sizing devices, quickly reorganize belongings when bags don't fit, and handle the physical stress of potentially having to gate-check luggage at the last minute while other passengers wait impatiently behind them. Fourth, there's the confusion about what items are now prohibited or restricted. The rule about smart luggage batteries being removable by hand is not new for 2026, but enforcement is becoming absolute. Seniors who invested in expensive smart luggage years ago may not realize their bags are no longer compliant until TSA forces them to abandon the luggage at security. Fifth, there's the medical device and medication complexity. Travelers with disabilities and medical conditions may consider getting a TSA notification card, but many seniors don't know this resource exists or how to obtain one. Without proper documentation, seniors bringing necessary medical equipment or medications face extra screening that can be stressful and time-consuming. Finally, there's the time perception and planning issue. TSA expects increased wait times for passengers who do not provide acceptable ID, but many seniors underestimate how much extra time the new procedures require. Arriving at the airport with what used to be sufficient time may now leave you rushing or missing flights entirely. Understanding these unique challenges helps explain why seniors need to take extra preparation steps that other travelers might skip, and why assuming airport procedures work the same way they did a few years ago could lead to serious travel disruptions. The 7 critical airport rule changes for 2026. Let me break down each of the 7 major changes taking effect in 2026 that will specifically impact senior travelers at every stage of the airport experience. Understanding these specific changes helps you prepare appropriately and avoid surprises that could derail your travel plans. Change number 1, the $45 Real ID enforcement fee. Beginning February 1, 2026, passengers who show up without a Real ID-compliant license, passport, or other TSA-approved credential will pay $45 for a one-time identity verification process called TSA Confirmed.ID. This fee covers a 10-day travel period and involves extensive identity verification that can take 10 to 30 minutes or longer. Change number 2, strict carry-on size and weight enforcement. Carry-on rules were always there, but airlines did not always enforce them. In 2026, that changes. Gate agents are now checking size and weight much more closely, and many travelers are surprised to learn that airlines are now weighing carry-ons, not just measuring them. If your bag doesn't fit or exceeds weight limits, gate check fees apply immediately. Change number 3, absolute smart luggage battery rules. Any suitcase with a non-removable battery is not allowed on any U.S. airline, including both carry-on and checked bags. Smart luggage batteries must be removable by hand, and TSA is applying 0 exceptions to this rule. All power banks and spare lithium batteries must travel in your carry-on bag and never in checked luggage for fire safety. Change number 4, continued 311 liquid rules with CT scanner exception. The classic 311 rule remains unchanged, 3.4 ounces per container, 1 quart-sized bag, 1 bag per person. However, airports using new CT computed tomography scanners allow travelers to leave liquids and laptops inside bags at specific lanes, creating confusion about which screening areas have different rules. Change number 5, shoes can stay on but not always. Over the summer, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security stopped requiring airline passengers to remove their shoes as they pass through TSA security checkpoints for most travelers. Despite the relaxed rules, you may still have to remove your shoes in certain cases, for example if you're subject to random secondary screening or if you set off alarms. Change number 6, digital ID acceptance expanding. In addition to real ID mandates, the TSA will now accept digital documentation, such as mobile driver's licenses, at some airports. This creates inconsistency where some airports accept phone-based IDs while others require physical documents, leading to confusion for travelers unsure what their specific airport accepts. Change number 7, enhanced screening technology deployment. Credential authentication technology 2 units combine ID document scanning with live facial comparison, verifying whether a traveler's face matches the image on their ID. According to the agency, facial comparison technology helps ensure the person standing at the checkpoint is the same person pictured on the identification document, though passengers may opt out of biometric features. Each of these changes affects the airport experience differently, and seniors need to understand which rules apply to their specific situation, their departure airport, and their type of travel to navigate the system successfully. The special TSA rules that apply to seniors 75 and older. While the new 2026 rules create additional burdens for all travelers, there are specific accommodations and expedited procedures available to seniors 75 and older that most people don't know about. Understanding and using these special provisions can significantly reduce stress and security delays for older travelers. The most important accommodation is that passengers 75 and older can receive expedited screening through TSA's risk-based security measures. This means seniors 75+ may leave on shoes and light jacket during screening, though removal of light jackets is required for advanced imaging technology screening. If you alarm during security screening, you may be required to remove your shoes for further screening or undergo a pat-down, but you can request to be seated during this portion of the screening. For seniors with mobility limitations, the rules provide additional flexibility. Passengers 75 and older who are unable to stand for screening will be screened through other security methods. If you are 75 years of age or older in a wheelchair or scooter, you may remain seated and the TSA officer will conduct a test of your hands for trace of explosives. There's also the TSA Cares helpline specifically designed to assist travelers with disabilities, medical conditions, and other circumstances. You may request assistance through the TSA security checkpoint online or by phone at 855-787-2227, ideally 72 hours prior to traveling. The level of service will vary based on airport resources, but requesting help in advance ensures TSA is prepared for your specific needs. For seniors traveling with companions who have medical conditions or cognitive issues, TSA allows passengers with non-visible disabilities and medical conditions such as Alzheimer's, autism spectrum disorder, and dementia to be screened without being separated from their traveling companion. If a companion provides assistance during screening, they will need to be rescreened. The accommodations extend to medical devices and equipment. Travelers with disabilities and medical conditions may consider getting a TSA notification card which specifies health conditions, disabilities, or medical devices that may affect screening. Provide this card to the TSA officer when you get to the checkpoint so they can make special considerations for your screening. For medication needs, TSA allows medications in reasonable quantities exceeding 3 ounces to be carried on the plane, and medications don't have to be in the zip-top bag that other liquids require. Keep medications clearly labeled in original prescription packaging or bring documentation from your doctor or pharmacist to verify necessity. However, here's the critical point many seniors miss: these accommodations are not automatic. You must inform TSA officers that you're 75 or older, request the specific accommodations you need, and in many cases contact TSA Cares in advance to ensure proper arrangements are made. Simply assuming TSA will recognize your age and provide accommodations often results in unnecessary stress and standard screening that could have been avoided. How to get your real ID before the February 1st deadline. With the February 1st enforcement date approaching rapidly, seniors who don't yet have a real ID need to take immediate action to avoid the $45 fee and identity verification delays. Let me walk you through the exact process for obtaining real ID so you can complete it before your next flight. First, verify whether you already have real ID. Look for a star symbol in the upper right corner of your driver's license or state ID card. If you see the star, you're already compliant and don't need to do anything. If there's no star, you need to visit your DMV to upgrade to real ID before your next flight after February 1st. To get a real ID, schedule an appointment at your local Department of Motor Vehicles. Many DMVs now require appointments rather than walk-in service, and appointment availability can be limited, so don't wait until the last minute. Check your state DMV website or call to schedule your appointment as soon as possible. Gather the required documents before your appointment. You'll need proof of identity like your current driver's license, birth certificate, or valid passport. You'll need proof of Social Security number such as your Social Security card, W-2 form, or pay stub showing your full SSN. You'll need 2 proofs of address like utility bills, bank statements, mortgage documents, or rental agreements dated within the past 90 days. Requirements vary by state, so check your specific state's DMV website for the exact document list. When you visit the DMV, tell the clerk you want the real ID option. There may be a small additional fee beyond the regular license renewal cost, typically around $10 to $30 depending on your state. The DMV will verify your documents, take a new photo, and issue you a real ID-compliant license. Processing time varies by state. Some states issue your real ID the same day, while others mail it to you within 2 to 3 weeks. If you have travel planned before your real ID arrives, you can use a valid U.S. passport, passport card, DHS trusted traveler card like Global Entry or Clear, permanent resident card, or military ID as acceptable alternative identification. For seniors who can't easily get to the DMV, consider these alternatives. Some states offer mobile DMV services that come to senior centers or assisted living facilities. Family members or caregivers can often assist with scheduling appointments and gathering documents. In some cases, notarized affidavits can substitute for missing documents if you can't locate original paperwork. If you absolutely cannot obtain real ID before travel, prepare to pay the $45 TSA Confirm.ID fee and allow extra time at the airport for the verification process. Visit the TSA website before your flight to complete the identification steps online and pay the fee, then present your email confirmation to TSA officers. However, this should be your last resort option since the verification process can take 30 minutes or more and isn't guaranteed to succeed. The complete packing and preparation checklist for 2026 airport rules. Beyond getting your real ID, there are specific packing and preparation steps seniors must complete to comply with the new 2026 rules and avoid problems at security or the gate. This comprehensive checklist ensures you're prepared for every aspect of the new airport environment. For your identification and documents, verify your ID has the real ID star or is an acceptable alternative like a passport. Make copies of your ID and travel documents in case originals are lost. If you're 75 or older, bring documentation of your birthdate in case TSA questions your age for expedited screening. Consider getting a TSA notification card if you have medical conditions or disabilities. For your carry-on luggage, measure your carry-on bag and personal item before arriving at the airport using airline-specific size requirements. Weigh your carry-on since airlines are now checking weight, not just size. Remove any smart luggage batteries and verify they're removable by hand without tools. Pack all power banks and spare lithium batteries in your carry-on, never in checked luggage. For liquids and medications, follow the 3-1-1 rule, containers of 3.4 ounces or less, all fitting in 1 quart-sized clear plastic bag, 1 bag per person. Pack medications in clearly labeled original containers with prescription information visible. Bring doctor's notes for any liquid medications exceeding 3.4 ounces. Separate medical liquids from your regular 3-1-1 bag for easier screening. For medical devices and mobility aids, call TSA Cares at 8557872227 at least 72 hours before travel if you need assistance with medical devices or mobility equipment. Bring documentation from your doctor explaining any implanted devices like pacemakers, hip replacements, or surgical implants. Pack CPAP, BiPAP, nebulizer, or oxygen equipment in clear bags inside carrying cases. Ensure hearing aids and cochlear implants are clearly visible and inform TSA officers about them. For clothing and shoes, wear slip-on shoes that are easy to remove if required for additional screening. Dress in layers so you can easily remove light jackets if needed. Avoid excessive jewelry or metal accessories that will set off detectors. If you're 75 or older, remember you can keep shoes on but may still need to remove them if you trigger alarms. For time management, arrive at the airport at least 2 hours early for domestic flights, 3 hours for international flights. Add extra time if you don't have real ID and need the confirm.id process. Add extra time if you're traveling during peak periods or through airports known for long security lines. Factor in time for potential mobility challenges or need for wheelchair assistance. Following this comprehensive checklist before you leave home prevents most of the problems seniors encounter at airports under the new 2026 rules and gives you confidence that you're prepared for any security scenario. Red flags and mistakes that get seniors detained or delayed. Certain mistakes and oversights trigger serious problems at airport security that can result in missed flights, confiscated items, extensive delays, or even being denied boarding. Understanding these red flags helps you avoid the most common errors that cause problems for senior travelers. The biggest mistake is arriving at the airport without checking your ID for real ID compliance. Don't assume your license is acceptable just because it's not expired. Look for the star symbol before your trip, not when you're standing at security. Discovering your ID isn't compliant at the checkpoint means paying $45 and potentially missing your flight due to extended verification. Another critical error is packing prohibited items in carry-on bags without realizing they're restricted. Wrapped gifts may be unwrapped by TSA, full-size liquids get confiscated, and smart luggage with non-removable batteries gets left at the airport. Check TSA's "What can I bring?" tool online before packing to verify every questionable item. Don't make the mistake of arguing with TSA officers or gate agents about the new rules. Identity verification is essential to traveler safety because it keeps terrorists, criminals, and illegal aliens out of the skies and other domestic transportation systems, and TSA officers have zero flexibility on security requirements. Arguing wastes time you need for your flight and may result in additional screening or being removed from the security area. Avoid assuming that because you're a senior, accommodations will be automatically provided. You must tell TSA officers that you're 75 or older and need expedited screening. You must request to remain seated if you can't stand for screening. You must inform officers about medical devices or conditions. TSA officers can't read your mind or make assumptions about your needs. Don't make the mistake of not allowing sufficient time for the new procedures. TSA expects increased wait times for passengers who do not provide acceptable ID, and even with proper ID, security lines are longer than ever because so many travelers are unfamiliar with current procedures. What used to require 30 minutes may now take 90 minutes or more during peak travel times. Be wary of trying to use the "but I've always done it this way" argument. Airlines and TSA enforcement priorities have changed dramatically. Rules that weren't enforced last year are now strictly applied. Gate agents are checking carry-on dimensions that previously went unchecked. This isn't negotiable or optional. Avoid the mistake of not checking your specific airline's policies before traveling. While TSA rules are federal and apply everywhere, individual airlines have varying policies on carry-on sizes, checked bag fees, and other travel requirements. What works on one airline may violate another's rules. Don't assume that just because you made it through security outbound, your return trip will go smoothly. Different airports have different equipment, procedures, and staffing levels. International airports especially may have additional requirements you didn't encounter at your departure airport. Finally, avoid traveling with items you can't afford to lose if they're confiscated. If TSA determines something violates current rules, you have three options: surrender it, step outside security to check it if time permits, or use airport mailback kiosks to ship it home. Don't bring irreplaceable items in carry-on bags that might need to be abandoned. What to do if you're already at the airport with problems? If you've arrived at the airport and discovered you don't have proper ID, your luggage doesn't comply with new rules, or you're facing other complications with the 2026 requirements, don't panic, but do take immediate action to salvage your travel plans. The steps you take in the next few minutes determine whether you make your flight or face a travel disaster. If you discover you don't have real ID or acceptable identification, immediately ask TSA officers about the confirm.id option. Tell them you're willing to pay the $45 fee and complete identity verification. Try to access the TSA website on your phone to complete verification steps and pay online before reaching the checkpoint, as this may speed the process. Provide the TSA officer with as much identifying information as possible: full name, current address, date of birth, social security number. If your carry-on bag is flagged for size or weight violations at the gate, ask about gate checking the bag. While gate check fees are often higher than regular checked bag fees, it's better than missing your flight or having to reorganize your belongings in front of other passengers. Move essential items like medications, valuables, and travel documents to your personal item before surrendering your bag. If TSA discovers prohibited items in your carry-on during screening, you have three immediate options. Surrender the item voluntarily if it's not valuable or important. Step outside security to check it in luggage if you have sufficient time before your flight. Use airport mailback kiosks if available to ship the item home. Don't argue about why the item should be allowed, focus on solving the problem quickly. If your smart luggage battery is non-removable and TSA refuses to allow it through, ask if the airport has storage facilities where you can leave the bag temporarily. Contact family or friends to see if someone can pick up the bag from the airport. As a last resort, abandon the bag and file a claim with your travel insurance if you have coverage for confiscated items. If you're struggling with the physical or cognitive demands of security screening, immediately request a passenger support specialist. These TSA officers are trained to assist travelers with special needs and can provide additional time, modified screening procedures, or accommodations that standard officers may not offer. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help you need. If you're 75 or older and TSA isn't providing expedited screening, politely inform the officer of your age and reference TSA's policy allowing seniors to keep shoes and light jackets on. If the officer still requires standard screening, request to speak with a supervisor. Document the officer's name and incident details if you believe proper procedures weren't followed. If the identity verification process is taking too long and you risk missing your flight, inform the TSA supervisor of your flight time and ask if expedited processing is possible. Alert your airline about the delay and ask about later flight options in case you miss your scheduled departure. TSA cannot guarantee you'll make your flight even with paid confirm.id processing. If you experience discrimination, accessibility issues, or believe your screening didn't meet TSA standards, ask to speak with a supervisor immediately while you're still at the checkpoint. Document everything: officer names, times, specific issues encountered. File a formal complaint with TSA after your travel while details are fresh, either through their website or by calling the TSA contact center. The key principle in airport emergency situations is staying calm, being polite, and focusing on solutions rather than arguments. TSA officers have the authority to deny you boarding if you're combative or uncooperative, so maintaining composure even when frustrated gives you the best chance of resolving problems and making your flight. Your complete 2026 airport success strategy. Let's create a comprehensive action plan that ensures you navigate the new 2026 airport rules successfully, maintain your independence and confidence while traveling, and actually enjoy your flights rather than dreading the security process. This strategy works whether you're a frequent flyer or someone who only travels occasionally. Immediate actions before your next flight: check your driver's license for the Real ID star symbol. If absent, schedule DMV appointment immediately to obtain Real ID before February 1st. Verify your passport is valid if you use it as alternative identification. Measure and weigh all luggage you plan to use for upcoming trips. Remove or verify removability of smart luggage batteries. Long-term travel preparation: consider enrolling in TSA PreCheck for $78 per 5 years, providing faster security screening and allowing you to keep shoes, belt, and light jacket on. PreCheck is now available at 230+ airports and continues expanding nationwide. If you travel internationally, investigate Global Entry, which includes TSA PreCheck benefits plus expedited customs processing. For seniors 75 and older, learn about TSA Cares program and save the phone number in your contacts, 855-787-2227. Request assistance 72 hours before each flight if you need help with screening. Inform TSA officers at checkpoint that you're 75+ and eligible for expedited screening. Carry documentation of birthdate if you look younger and might be questioned. Medical and mobility planning: get a TSA notification card if you have disabilities or medical conditions affecting screening. Gather doctor's letters documenting any implanted devices, necessary medications, or medical equipment. Practice explaining your medical needs clearly and concisely to TSA officers. Arrange for wheelchair assistance through your airline if needed for long airport distances. Packing system development: create a standardized packing list that complies with all 2026 rules. Use TSA-approved luggage sizes and invest in lightweight bags that won't exceed weight limits when packed. Organize medications, liquids, and electronics for quick screening access. Pack copies of important documents separately from originals. Time management strategy: adopt a standard arrival time of 2.5 to 3 hours before domestic flights, more for international travel. Add buffer time if you're unfamiliar with the airport or traveling during peak periods. Never book connecting flights with less than 90 minutes between arrivals and departures. Sign up for airline apps and TSA notifications to receive real-time airport delay information. Communication and support network: inform family members of your complete travel itinerary including flight numbers and arrival times. Save airline customer service numbers in your phone for quick access during problems. Join airline loyalty programs even if you fly infrequently, as members often receive better service during delays. Consider travel insurance that covers trip interruptions, lost luggage, and medical emergencies. Technology preparation: learn to check in online 24 hours before flights and download mobile boarding passes. Practice accessing important documents from your phone in case physical copies are lost. Understand your airline's app features for managing reservations and tracking luggage. Ensure your phone is fully charged before airport arrival and bring portable charger. Contingency planning: know what alternative transportation options exist if you miss your flight. Keep credit cards and emergency cash accessible for unexpected fees or expenses. Have backup medications and essential items in your personal item that stays with you if carry-on must be gate-checked. Research your destination airport's accessibility features and services before arrival. Ongoing adaptation: review TSA website quarterly for rule updates since airport security continues evolving. Learn from each travel experience and adjust your strategy accordingly. Share information about new rules with other senior travelers who may not be aware of changes. Stay flexible and patient as airports implement new technologies and procedures. Remember the core principle: the 2026 airport rules are more complex and strictly enforced than ever before, but seniors who prepare properly, understand available accommodations, and allow sufficient time will navigate security successfully. Your travel independence doesn't have to end because of new airport requirements, it just requires adaptation to the new environment. Start preparing now for your next flight using this comprehensive strategy, and you'll join the 94% of travelers who move through airports smoothly because they understood and complied with the requirements before arriving at security.